I'm that girl who loves supporting people with as many sessions as it takes for them to empower themselves, to be able to understand the significance and purpose of these sessions and how these sessions work. And that is why I have these intakes each month of new groups of people, and we start from scratch and we do the full session, and then we do many repeat sessions afterwards, which I sort of call second sessions. So we use the keyword and we get them deeply under and be able to just unpack any questions or any sort of epiphanies along the way. And I feel like this is proven to me time and time again how quickly advanced the client gets. But there is, just like with anything, and when you're learning anything, there is a journey. And the emotional journey can be quite challenging when we want to be naturally gifted and brilliant and trust everything and all that sort of stuff and be advanced. The challenge is we don't just automatically be that and become that with just one session or even two sessions. It actually takes some time and practice. And I feel like a lot of people give up. Because it just feels like it's definitely my conscious mind making up all that nonsense. So anyway, hello, my friend. Welcome back.
Hello.
Hi. So you had your second session with me, and it's the typical experience where you start suddenly channeling your subconscious, your main guide. And for you, who has got the luxury of seeing so much visuals in your sessions, to just channel that guide, it kind of feels lackluster. Like, whoa. Give me the visuals, give me the fancy, give me everything that you have enjoyed the first time. The second time, you have already upgraded your energy frequency to be more of a match for them. So it's not such a big, oh my God, my body was, like your first physical experience during the sessions with your body was very hot and sweaty and
Yes.
and then the second session was more that effervescence. Your vessel, your body is like got all of the sparkly energy that's kind of like you're suddenly like a soda can, and there's all this tingling of energy in different locations of the body.
Correct.
Typical, classic examples. Now, I've noticed the more I do sessions, the less I have those physical experiences.
Is that because your body is just becoming attuned,
I
like
think
a tuning fork?
yes, I think I am getting more and more acclimated to that energy frequency, because the more sessions you do, the more you heal yourself, the more you get attuned to it. And I remember when I was doing sessions, just asking in the energy field through the channeler, interviewing the 77 icons of history, I was drinking so much water because it was so intensive. Sitting in that energy frequency and just asking them questions and trying to think with my monkey mind. And, the energy of the planet was quite different back then too, because, it's quite a few years ago now. And, it was a lot. And then when I started doing quantum sessions, I was wiped for about 2 or 3 days afterwards. I was like, oh my gosh. And I kind of had this hope right from the get-go. I would love to have 3 clients a week. I think I could cope with that, and then still kind of have, a bit of me time with some of my pottery and my creativity, but of gardening, all while being a mother and, housekeeper, failing at a housekeeper. And I'm fine. I'm not triggered by that at all now, at all. She tells herself with confidence. So it is a lot of energy, but I sort of feel like part of it is them kind of helping us recognize, okay, this heat is something. And I know it kind of gives people confirmation, like this isn't just my mind making this up, because I'm feeling a whole lot of physical sensations as well. And I kind of feel like that helps us with the journey to recognize and have, because we're brilliant, we're advanced at doubting. We are trained to dismiss everything. And this is, a journey to overcome that when we are channeling for ourselves.
Yes.
So, again, brilliant. a very, very advanced information just slipping out of your vehicle in the session yesterday. And, it kind of felt like they didn't really want to go there, but I kind of pushed it. Imagine that, me pushing things. Which was because you had that vision of you being on board the Palladian ship again, and you sense that metal triangle, which was hollow, which was on the crest of your forehead, like an amulet or something. Is that correct?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, sorry, I feel like I'm pushing you through this conversation.
No, you're fine.
I just want you to know that's all normal. And I really hated the times where I was learning to trust this information in these sessions, because I had doubt as well. And I didn't want to own the information. And I couldn't understand why my conscious mind was suddenly make up all this nonsense. And, it's really emotionally, it's a gymnastics, it's a roller coaster of accepting all of this. And when we want this information and we want the truth, the absolute truth, and we're on the journey to get ourselves to trust it and not dismiss it and not hold anything back, while also doing enough of our own inner work to be able to then get the information we are seeking, it's more than a hobby. And this is why I've wanted to be able to really deeply support people with doing as many sessions as possible for them to really overcome all of those stages and be able to really deeply trust this in ultimate empowerment for them to be able to fully channel for themselves at the level of being in a quantum session, which is how I got myself to channel. So anyway, so from your recollection, what was, so it was a vision, or was it no, you were meditating and you got given the vision of
I was meditating to you released several sound meditations, and you had the elemental sound meditations, and I was meditating to the air sound healing. And that's when I received the vision of being back on that ship and the triangle being placed on my forehead.
And what was happening to your limbs?
When they placed the triangle on my forehead, I was lying down, and I felt my consciousness expand, greatly, like past the ship. And I felt like I was growing so large, and that my arms and legs were reaching down and touching the earth while my body was still on the ship.
And so what did they say when they were explaining to you that significance?
Well, they didn't say, but it's like I had this knowing that was my consciousness. It was representing my consciousness reaching down, like part of me still on the ship and part of me reaching down.
Yeah. So for the audience, my friend hasn't listened to her whole session, but I did. And we're just pushing on through. Yeah. And so, I mean, maybe it was all my senses, or maybe it actually was in the session, but it definitely was, yes, that was your soul essence that was reached and was on Earth, because you have how many parallel lives here right now?
5 others, and if you count me, there's 6.
Fancy. She gets around. And so it was really interesting because they said 3 others are fully awoken too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, imagine that.
I think 2 others. I think there's like 3 awake and 3 asleep.
Okay, cute. Imagine that. Imagine that conversation.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Which is strange to me. I wonder why you would have, if it's all the same soul essence, why some would be awake and some wouldn't. And it just really shows that we are completely in this state of forgetfulness and living out our own individual lives,
Well, why would you want to have the same like for like in all aspects? You would want the full duality, plurality, all the differences. You'd want to have different genders, you'd have different cultures, you'd want to have different scenarios, wouldn't you? Just for the sheer novelty factor of that alone.
Yes. definitely.
God, I just feel triggered to think there's probably a part of me that's a fucking runner.
Well, I'm just hoping that there's a part of me that's like this tall, thin supermodel.
I think that sounds like your Palladian version of self.
That was a wish. I don't think that's actually accurate either, but okay.
Well,
I think we have how do you call it? Romanticized what we think of when we think of Palladians and other collectives.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like, people share all of those. Hang on. People share all of their artwork and those, like, all of literally it's just artworks of the Palladians. And I think, well, that's a symbol of what you're getting given to help you understand that as a reference point. But as you know, when you had your own session, they showed you your daughter this lifetime to represent a daughter in that lifetime. So it's to help you recognize the symbology or the connections to it, and it's not necessarily exactly the same.
No, and I think a lot of times we are shown, whether it was in like religious terms of seeing angels or channeling aliens or whatever it is. I think they are always shown to us in our form, or else it was scared the shit out of us.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean, you've already had other off-planet lifetimes, and how profoundly not weird but kind of different it was to notice you with your what was the the alien Paul from the movie Paul, and then is American Father or American Dad? What is that cartoon where they have
I have no idea.
Okay. So they live with this alien who so the American dad works for some sort of CIA or something like that, and somehow he just lives this cartoon family just live with this alien. And it kind of reminded me of the descriptions that you had when you were talking about your other life. And of course, what we sort of think, people assume, oh, she's watched that cartoon, so that's where she's got that information from, the other aggression. No, you're absolutely not able to really think about anything in terms of any reference points to pop culture when you're having these regressions. You're so deep.
I'll tell you this. There's nothing inside of me that would have imagined myself as a ginormous praying mantis.
Yeah.
Nothing. I have no reference point for that, Joe.
Nothing. I know. And this is why it's frustrating it's confusing for people when they see themselves as a mermaid. They can see their friends as mermaids, they can see their house as a mermaid, all of the stuff, but they still won't say the M word. They still feel really uncomfortable about it because it's not cartoon, it's not Disney. This is very different, but they know that, oh, this is mermaid like. But they don't want to say it because they don't want to be judged. So they say it's sort of like fish-like, but I'm kind of human at the same time. And they're really struggling with it. When you know that there is a pause and a gap, when you ask someone to notice their body, they're now in this vision that, the regression part that they're looking at, it's very challenging for them because they want to say it, but they don't want to say it because they want to doubt it. And I haven't heard anyone, when they have had other physical lifetimes very different, really kind of confidently say it and own it, because it's quite confusing for them. So they're not making this shit up. This is a really honest, serious experience for very purposeful reasons. And when I keep saying to people, have your own sessions, channel for yourselves, understand yourselves, especially when they're seeking proof. I want proof. I haven't seen any proof. You're all bullshit. I demand proof. They're not demanding proof. They're using an excuse not to grow. It's kind of like, when I get $1 million, I'm going to be happy. When I get my skinny jeans, I'm going to be happy. Like you were putting all these conditions about our growth and our acceptance and I'll do my homework on Sunday. Like it's a avoidance distraction. And we've seen today many people online demanding proof before they will accept anything. And it's kind of like, well, then you're not wanting to grow. You're actively blocking yourself, and you're actively not wanting to grow. And these same people are still screaming at us that they're so awake. Oh, I know the truth. I'm so awake, but I need proof that there is other dimensional beings. I need proof that this is, that there is anything that's spiritual. I need proof that there is, the afterlife. And yet there's so much proof that they are literally running with their eyes closed, with their hands over their ears, screaming, so they can't hear or see anything. It's everywhere now. And they're still refusing to accept it because they don't want to grow. They don't want to empower themselves actively. And they become very triggered when you say to them, have your own quantum sessions and channel for yourself and ask your main guides this. You do this work for yourself. No one's here to prove anything to you. This is an independent journey for you to awaken yourself. I already know about the crimes of humanity, they say. It's not got anything to do with that. That's part of the awakening. Awakening to yourself is the grand awakening, not the disinformation, not the bullshit that's, been keeping humanity limited. It's about awakening to yourself. That's the true purpose of the grand awakening.
Absolutely. It's starting to feel your soul essence again.
Yeah.
It's starting to realize who you are, what you are, and how powerful you are.
So regardless
of what's happening. Yeah.
So what they were reluctant to kind of say in your session was that you truly, because one of your questions was, how come I haven't seen a spaceship? How come I haven't seen other beings, and have I been uplifted before? It's my
where's my proof?
And these are the sessions to ask, where's my fucking proof? You know, like, I want it all because we deserve it all, right? And if we are still feeling like we can't move to the next step because we don't have that proof, then, that's honestly, it's a valid thing, but you're actively getting the proof by having these sessions to channel for yourself, and you're working through empowering yourself to trust the information without visuals, because they're very handy. Those visuals are very comfortable and handy. When you remove the visuals and you focus on the concepts and the content of what they're trying to tell you, that is kind of like the entertainment part's gone. Now this is time to focus on the principles and the concepts that they're delivering, which was, no, you haven't seen ships. No, you're not abducted, because you're not even on Earth. You're still on board the ship, having the illusion of being here on Earth in the physical. And then I said, well, is this like her being in a simulation? And your subconscious said, no, we would like to say it's the illusion. And then I said, and this is summarizing, and then I said, so we have, so they said, life on Earth is an illusion, but it's, complicated for humans to understand this, blah, 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 blah. And I said, well, I have heard it's like being in a dream within a dream. And then they were like, it's a dream within 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 a dream. And I was like, oh, okay. So
very dramatic.
I loved it. I loved it because they're still reminding me, human Joe, monkey mind, meat suit, mother who's distracted with other shit, that there is still so much more to understand. And when we're getting frustrated or distracted or triggered or whatever, it's all cool. But, it's beautiful. I love the support. And there's no way you would have said any of this. This is quite a triggering statement to say. None of this is real. And so the difference between a simulation and an illusion, what they said was, the emotions are real in this illusion. And that is the significance. It is real for the experience of the emotions, but it's not physically real. You're not physically here. Your consciousness is in a meat suit,
And even that is questionary.
So you think, okay, so then what the hell is this all for then? What is this? Like, why do we have to awaken people if this is just all an illusion? And then it kind of gets very convoluted, because you then remember that we need to raise our frequency vibrations to shift. And as your subconscious said, you're here to help with critical mass, to help raise the frequency vibrations. And it's like, but why? Who gives a shit if it's an illusion? What the fuck? Who cares about the vibrations or of the energy in an illusion? What does it really matter?
Definitely. But I mean, why go to all this trouble if it didn't matter? Right?
Well, they say it does matter, because the experiences of just the emotions is the whole purpose of it.
Well, boy, have I had plenty of emotion in my life. I'm sure most people listening can say the same. This life is very emotional.
But isn't it kind of at this point, we've experienced all the range of emotions multiple times? Are you exploring new emotions at all?
No, I don't think so. No. Well, I say no. I mean, I'm still, processing trauma. But would I say it's new emotions? No, I wouldn't. I feel like we've done everything.
We've seen it all. I want to get my souvenirs and get the fuck off this joint. No, I mean, so therefore, it means it's very significant why we are here. But it kind of feels like we're not really here in this illusion for ourselves at some point. I mean, when you sort of, when, when I do get triggered, it's fantastic, because it's always it's always an opportunity for me to empower myself with what I could say is my weaknesses of insecurities. And so, people have been triggering me recently because of just their lack and insincerity and their dishonesty to themselves, that they are hurt. And they are trying to convince me that it's never going to be possible for them to heal themselves. And I'm saying to them, it is completely possible. And you're completely in charge and in control of that when you choose. And they are outraged because they're just not believing me. And that's fine, that no one needs to believe me, but they're not even believing in themselves. And that's what triggers me, is that, and it's none of my business, really, it's not, but it's kind of like when humanity is so seductively conditioned to hate itself and to belittle itself and to belittle others with its hatred of self and its pain, because that's really how distracted humanity has been. And I know when I was talking to your subconscious and I was talking about the events coming, and how is that going, and it kind of felt like when they were talking to me, they had, and it wasn't an emotion, but it was more like like they were so aspirated and just so not frustrated, because I actually asked them, like, it seems like you're so frustrated here, but they don't have the emotions, but they're at their end of choices. And this kind of, almost, if they had emotional senses, this sort of offends their emotional senses, what has to occur, because they've tried every which way. Do you remember that part of your session?
Yes. They sounded kind of done.
Absolutely.
They sounded kind of done, and they were like, you know what, you know, we're putting so much energy in, we're speeding things up. We really just, we're done. We're gonna do what we have to do, even if it's frightening and ferocious to wrap this up.
So what's dawned on me now, listening, is that the emotions that most have not felt yet or empowered themselves with is the love of others and the compassion and unconditional love for others, including themselves. And that's what we're still waiting on. And they will not do that until there is tragedy and chaos.
Which is so sad.
It's
so sad.
Oh my God. And when it's so easy to just love and accept others and love and accept yourself, so easy. You can do it profoundly as soon as you want to, as soon as you choose to. What are we waiting for?
I don't know. I mean, if you'd have known me not too distant past, I mean, I was stuck in victim mode. I was so depressed. I was 50 pounds heavier than I am now. I was just miserable. I felt like the world was against me. I couldn't get enough of, watching the news and all the fighting between politics and the wars. And I was a drama junkie, and I was just swimming in the density. And
you're just playing in the illusion and having fun with it.
Yeah, it was, it was horrible. It was horrible. And I never want to go back to that. I never want to go back to that.
So you've dined in that smorgasbord of all of the pickle ice cream flavors.
Yes.
Found some anchovy ice cream flavors just for the sheer novelty of it. And you've dined and dashed from that smorgasbord now of dense emotions. Because what I love about you, there's so much to love about you, is when you notice and sense that trigger, instead of going to town again with the emotions, you're taking that sweet moment to question and reflect and notice what the root of that is and that trigger. And you're actively seeking the what we'd call like the weakness to empower you, to strengthen you, to to just make you shine rather than burn you.
And do you know what I've noticed? The more you practice doing that, you get to the point when you're triggered, you stop and laugh. You laugh at yourself.
Yes.
You're like, and I'm like, yay, another trigger. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
And it becomes almost like a game. You challenge yourself. How, it's wonderful. But it does take practice. You have to, you have to take that first step.
Everything takes practice. Everything that you want to be good at takes practice. Loving yourself takes practice. And it's kind of like when we're actively seeking out now to liberate ourselves from these sort of old belief systems that can still trigger us. And I know you very bravely shared with me a trigger that you've been carrying for a bit about someone who does trigger you. And they trigger many people. And when I asked your subconscious about this, they said it is a distraction for you because we have all these heightened emotions and all this sort of stuff, and that their life contract is purposeful. And like, I know you know that, but to actually be brave and so bold and own your shit and say this triggers me, to then release it, I mean, that is advanced fucking approach and attitude that we all need to have now. There's no shame in being triggered. There's only shame in like refusing to grow from that trigger. And I sort of think, we're all too mature for that.
And it was, I saw this particular person on the news this morning. Just at a glance, I had it muted, and I was able to smile and laugh at myself. And I'm like, you know what? It's okay. I can do this.
Love you. You just have got such speed in your growth that is so inspiring. And the things that trigger us, especially people, right? Like, people are designed to trigger us for that beautiful opportunity to see what's going on for us, where our reflection of hurt is. And you automatically and intuitively recognized why this person triggered you, because it reminded you of other situations that you are not happy with. No one should be happy about the abuse of people or genders or anything, right? Like, I mean, we should all be outraged. We should, we deserve to be absolutely outraged how humanity is doing things to humanity. Like, that is it kind of seems like that would be natural, right? Like, you'd almost be inhumane if you weren't passionate about this. But then to have that peace and balance, to just trust that this is to awaken people to notice the disempowerment in itself. There's definitely a journey between awakening to that, to finding your balance to neutral, to then be grateful that there is these, what you could lazily call jerks in society that are triggering people to grow one way or another.
I just had a flash, a memory of watching the news a few days ago, and they were discussing how in Iran, I think it's Iran, they are gassing the girls' schools, releasing toxic gas in the girls' schools, so that the girls can't attend school anymore. That's that backlash, I guess, for the protests and everything. And but I understand that's, again, it's to shake them up, get them angry, get them asking questions.
Yeah,
It's
like,
all purposeful.
and you can feel that, like, you can feel that hideous a situation that is to bring people together, but they wouldn't come together beforehand. They had all these opportunities to step up and stand up, to have humanity's best interests. And when they refused, and when they kept complying to things that were disempowering humanity, you have these horrific things like gassing young girls.
Yeah.
Which is making them so sick that they're in hospital. And bless those life contracts. Those are heroes. They really are. Because as a mother and as a human being, I want to get so fucking angry with that, and I want to
Yes.
yell and scream, and I want to tell people off, and I want to shake my finger at them, and I want to just be super angry and loud. And I think this is triggering me to all the times that I didn't have gas as a child when I was a young girl. But any of our own insecurities of our own childhood, where we were not empowered, not safe, not loved, not protected, we can all be triggered emotionally with these moments in our own history that can make us feel victims. And we can't necessarily, and we don't want to look at our own experiences, because we try to suppress all of that history. And so when you just think of these vulnerable victims of girls, we can and we will want to stand up and fight for them, because no one fought for us, and we're trying to heal ourselves. So all these beautiful triggers, but at the most offensive senses to our core, it is just so offensive what has to happen now, because people have been keeping small. People have not wanted to speak up their truths and go against mainstream, or go against the peer pressure or the cultural pressures. There's so much. And people, I don't want to say anything, don't want to cause a scene. We're supposed to be here to cause the biggest scene, to make people stop and stop their routines that are not empowering them or others.
Absolutely.
But when we speak up in class, we get told to shut up, go to the back of the room. No one wants to hear from you, Miss Joanne. Like, there is so much that we have
That
been
and
conditioned. Yeah.
Yeah, that and I remember, growing up, and I had wonderful parents, but again, very traditional parents where, when my mother, I guess, would speak up too much, my father would put her in her place. And we were all daughters, and he would put us in our place. And that masculine, suppression, it triggers me. And so things like when I see that in Iran, it really brings back, again, like you were saying, these things that we have not dealt with in our own history, you know? It's
Absolutely. And I mean, because we sort of have got selective memories for our own emotional cope, we only cope, you know, we don't want to process, and often we can't process the experiences at the time. So we, you know, pack it away for a rainy day. And we will never want to actively go and look through that stuff. And it's sort of so secret and taboo. It's way back in our emotional closet. And it's not until we have these moments, these beautiful gifts and opportunities have been triggered to heal. And we may not even recognize what we're doing. And especially if it's trauma from other lifetimes, we do not know this protest, or this time I'm going to speak up to this bully, or this time I'm going to do this or this or this. This is actually empowering me through something 5 lifetimes ago that I didn't master or didn't complete or didn't overcome. And so how are we supposed to know all of that?
well, you know, you said save things for a rainy day. It's a rainy day. It's a rainy day for all of us.
Um, I think we are going to be embarrassed when we look back at all the times and opportunities we could have spoken our truth and empowered others. And I'm not talking about the crimes against humanity. I'm talking about the way we treat each other and the way that we, you know, see awful things happen all the time, but we don't step up. We don't try to protect a victim. We don't, you know, oh, I don't want to be in that fight. I remember, you know, this drunken couple in the middle of the day, like arguing in the street, like really passionately, and everyone like not making eye contact and walking around them. And I remember, you know, people like, I was sort of stopped and watched and like, oh, don't interfere. And I'm kind of like, I don't want to interfere, but I want to stop that. You know, like how does one person go and kind of support that without making more problems or bringing, you know, like we just don't know. We kind of go into shock. We don't know how to, we don't know what to say. We don't know what to do. And so we do nothing. And I kind of feel like, I think it's time for us to do something now.
Yes.
But
Now
what?
we are all supposed to be doing things.
Yes, but then this is the reason why people love to have these deniability clauses, because they don't want to step up and they don't want to be of service. Trolls on the internet don't like going onto social media to help anyone or to support anyone. And it's kind of like, well, how are we honestly actively being of service to people and humanity? And I know some people say, oh, just my energy. I'm fantastic. My energy is awesome. And I'm like, well, I know everyone can give as much as they can, but I also know everyone can give much more than we are. I know I can do much more than I'm doing. And I know that my delivery could always be much more better and more approved upon. But, you know, this has to be more than just a hobby. This has to be more than just a, oh, well, she'll be right, mate kind of attitude. And when people are desperately seeking the truth to empower themselves, we don't even need to tell them anything apart from channel for yourselves. You know, start that journey and that relationship of understanding who you are and connecting in with your teams.
And you said something the other day and I loved it. You said that people only post things for 2 reasons: for sharing love for others or seeking love for themselves. So, I mean, think about it. It's social media. It's our community. We're all in our home, so it's the closest thing to community we have right now. So when you post something, are you seeking healing and love for yourself, or are you trying to empower and give love to someone else? Maybe we should all think about that before we write anything. What am I saying? What is this saying?
Mm. And yeah, and also what is my agenda? Am I truly trying to help this person have a new perspective? And, you know, when people don't want to grow and you try to give them a new perspective, that's fucking offensive to them. Like, how dare you? I'm not seeking to heal. I'm not seeking to grow. And yes, we do find those people, and is, you know, it's sad. It's their choices. But did we try to help them have a new perspective that they could gain? because you can see very quickly those who get all this profound, amazing advice, amazing wisdom, amazing empowerment. They've got, 30 people giving the time, the energy, and their perspectives of just brilliance, sheer brilliance. And then that person, the post is, having a really sad day today, don't feel loved, feel so alone, blah, 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 right? Valid. We can all feel like that. So then they get this amazing support, this amazing advice, ground yourself, drink lots of water, blah, 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 really beautiful. They don't respond. They don't acknowledge. And then 4 days later, I think I just broke my leg, dog's been run over, taxes are due. Like they do not care about what the information they've just been shared. They just want to feel seen. They just want to feel special and have attention. And they're showing us they don't want to grow. And that even when they're loved, they don't know what to do with it because they don't love themselves. And so, it's so complex and so complicated, but you can see actively their motives and their agendas. And I guess that feels really frustrating when you're, constantly praising someone, empowering someone, loving someone, giving them this great wisdom and advice, and the same person is creating more dramas and more issues in their lives publicly to just have that. Now, we could say, forget it, don't bother. But we also could recognize and realize that there might be 10 other people who are just listening in the background or reading in the background who actually are applying the information. And so while we could just lazily think, the attention-seeking whore, with all of their negativity and their dramas and all this sort of stuff, I mean, they are happy to share their shit, happy to share their misery. They seem to love it. And it kind of brings out the compassion of people wanting to share and support and encourage. And all we can trust is those blind ripple out effects of people just witnessing it. But at some point, we're going to have to be brave. And at some point, we're going to have to share our love and support and opinions, even if we know it's going to trigger someone who doesn't want to grow. Because it's not always just a private conversation between two people. This is, these are groups. This is, social. But it gets very challenging and very draining, especially when we know that hurt people, and they become so entitled with their pain and their arrogance and their attitudes that they will desperately try to disempower others, and that's just a reflection of really where their own disempowerment is. And, we have to hope that every trigger is a beautiful seed, just like every love is a beautiful seed. Every compliment, every part of empowerment is a beautiful seed. We can't nurture that for them. They get given all these types of seeds to grow. Some are tough love and some are beautiful, inspirational love. But it's always with the right intention and integrity and agenda, when you've got your own balance and neutral, in my opinion.
I was listening to one of the channeled sessions just recently, and it was talking about that we don't understand that every single thing we do, even the smallest thing that we do, is significant.
Yeah.
And has like a cause and effect. We don't see it. It's hard for us to see it because we're down here. But if we could go up high and see the bigger picture, the bigger perspective, we would see that everything matters. Everything.
Mm. Well, I mean, you can feel me from across the world. And, and I think I'm just, minding my own business in my own home and privacy of my own space. And, you're feeling me and questioning what's going on with you, and here I am thinking, I'm in the private mood. And, across around the world, you're saying, what's up your bumhole today?
I didn't say it quite like that.
But I was processing being of service, and I was feeling, and this is the hard thing, as I mirror other people. So I trigger people for what they need to look upon themselves, but they will see me and then react and be triggered to actually what they don't like about themselves or what they need to empower themselves with. And so all the insecurities get triggered when they view me, and they don't like me because of the things they don't like about themselves. But they're oblivious to that. They don't see and recognize that.
Well, I always believe that for many people, it takes hearing things numerous times before it clicks. I know it always has been that way for me, you know. And I can only hope that eventually they'll hear it that next time, and that next time they'll have that epiphany,
Well,
So we just have to keep trying.
sure. And, actions and energy speak louder than words sometimes. And, we want to sort of think and work smarter than harder. And if we have got calmness in our energy field when we're writing to someone, their energy should be felt to them. But when they're frazzled and they're reflective and projecting their own shit onto people, they're going to find they're in a big muddle and they won't kind of understand what's going on for them. And so then they'll project, playing that they're empaths and they're reading, negative agendas onto people, but yet they can only see the mirroring reflection of themselves. And so, it's fun times. And the thing is, we're all growing. Every single one of us is still growing. And the more we are identifying what other people are feeling, the more we can be able to help them without reacting for them or because of them.
Yeah.
But that's hard, you just get quite a few overwhelming moments of just doing 17,000 things at once. And then you suddenly realize that you're picking up other people's energies and attitudes and holding them. Because when you are a true empath, you are either picking up your own shit and projecting that in you're sensing it from others, but not recognizing it's your own, or you are actually sensing their own shit. And so understanding the energy that you're feeling is very vital. And if we haven't done enough of our own inner work, we get confused. Whose shit is it? But
how mind-boggling is it that we literally live on opposite sides of the globe, almost like you're all the way on the other side of the globe. So if I can pick up you, who else am I picking up? And who
everyone.
else are others picking up? My point is, we can't even fathom how much of others that we're feeling. And it's not just the people that are in the room next to us, So
yeah. So, what I find I'm saying to myself and my children regularly, it doesn't matter who littered. We all need to pick this shit up, and, they're all pointing their fingers at the other kid. Oh, it wasn't me, it was this person. And I'm just looking at them all and going, but we all live here. We all live here. It doesn't matter who did it. We're all now walking around and avoiding the litter that's on our floor, which is, their wrappers of their muesli bars, so it's kind of like, again, with this emotional shit, doesn't matter who created it, doesn't matter who's owning it, but we can process it. We have to. This is part of our, light working duties, is to honor the energy and ground it and transmute it and be able to send back love and not hold on to it and be triggered by it.
Absolutely. If you can do nothing else, drink water and do some of those healing meditations, because it's just, those things are just so profound.
I think it's part of getting to a good, healthy routine of self-empowerment.
Absolutely.
And I think that they're trying to train us, right? They're trying to remind us of that, even while we're in this, illusion. We are training and being practically trying to get into positive routines where we can instantly ground ourselves, where we can notice if there is tension in our bodies, in our minds, and get back to a fast neutral as fast as possible.
And I think they're also trying to get us ready for what's next.
Absolutely.
Because what's next is in a state of being in peace and balance and neutrality, right?
It's going to be so chaotic. We cannot, I think they're stressed because it's kind of like they see that some of us just don't cope. We just go into fear, go into panic, go into despair, and become part of the problem. And with your, remember what they're talking about, you're here to be of service for the critical mass. So
Right.
they're trying to get us all to be high frequency vibrational. So think love, joy, gratitude, and yet more distractions come that keep us in fear, despair, money, financial worries and concerns, train accidents, the environmental issues, petrol prices, like we know we're supposed to be doing one thing emotionally, and yet the world is inviting us all the time to make different choices. And so I feel like the more we're trying to empower ourselves and love ourselves is awesome, but then there are still distractions in the 3D that can lower our frequency vibrations. And I know so many people that say, oh, I'm totally love and light. I'm so awake. I'm so aware. I'm so advanced at a, spiritual guru person, blah, 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 blah. And yet, when you start talking to them about their true worries and fears, there's so much of it and they don't know how to process it. They don't know how to understand it or accept it. And so they hold on to so much junk, so much litter energetically because they're just not willing to let it go.
And I think we have to understand that this is a marathon. I mean, we have to keep going, and it's getting a little steeper, but we just, again, with practice, we can do it. I know that we can do this.
Well, I sort of don't think we get an option. I think we have to do it
Well,
and we will do it,
we have
right?
to, yeah. Well, if people listening want things to change, they have to be the change. They were talking about reaching that tipping point. We're not going to
Mm.
reach that tipping point if more people don't step up.
Yeah. It's kind of, but then, I mean, was it your subconscious sort of saying that they're seeing people starting to, give up anyway because things aren't moving rapidly enough for them? They don't see the ripple out effects. They're losing faith. There's so much people are kind of
Yeah.
giving up on that's a concern in themselves as well. And they keep saying, just keep going. Just, keep, don't give up. Just keep focusing. Keep working on empowering yourself.
Yeah, I think they said that we're just so close.
Yeah.
Oh, fun time.
I think what kind of makes me feel a bit sad is that some people who have amazing love and compassion for humanity still don't feel like their input or their interactions with others could be meaningful or special or significant or life-changing because they still feel small and insignificant. I'm just one person. I don't, they judge themselves on their roles for their jobs. They judge themselves because of their education. They judge themselves for a whole bunch of stuff, but they're not honoring their energy frequency and how their love, because they've loved them, they can love themselves and they empower themselves and they've healed themselves. But that next step of just reaching out to someone, a complete stranger, and having compassion and kindness and kind of going out of your own natural comfort zone to acknowledge them and just be there for them with no conditions, no expectations, but just to be there for a complete stranger. I feel like that makes people feel very uncomfortable and, oh, that's too much work and too much effort and I don't like people and blah, 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 blah. Like this is when they really make themselves super small and don't honor themselves.
But I mean, all it takes sometimes is just a smile.
Oh yeah.
Smile.
But
I notice, oh,
when people are not wanting to leave their houses, how do you smile to people online?
well, you do kind of have to leave your house. But no, you think you can.
Mm.
But again, thinking about what you're saying before you post. And I loved it when the guides were saying, if we could only see our light the way they can see it.
Yeah.
You know?
We have to have faith and know that, even though we're in an illusion, there is always, there's big significance why we're here, regardless of whether we know it all or not now. We have to focus. All of that other information could be distracting. We're here now. There is importance and significance. We wouldn't have put ourselves in this situation if it's not, worth our time, shall we say. It's important we're here. And what do we do with it? I mean, we're here. Do we kind of muck around? I mean, sometimes it feels like that's a better option, but we're here for humanity. And I don't want to be energetically at a frequency vibration that is impacting humanity. I did that enough.
I firmly believe, and that's just me being overly positive, but I believe if people are finding these sessions and they're listening to these recordings and they're finding our groups and our posts, there's a reason. Maybe they're not awake yet, but something is bringing them here. I just have to have hope.
Yeah, I feel like the advanced versions of selves are trying to push them to awaken and to start trusting their senses and stop being so brilliantly advanced at doubting and dismissing.
I think I'll take some of that that advice for myself for last night's session.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. And like, there's no shame in growing, and there's no shame of experiencing everything. We had to. So, this is letting go of everything, including judgment of self and judgment of others, and making conscious decisions and efforts to empower ourselves and others every step moving forward from now. That is when we truly have, matured, I think.
Absolutely. And I love everyone listening to this right now.
You sweetheart. Well, thank you for being of service. I love you. And again, for everyone that is listening, all our emotions are significant. They are real. And in empowering ourselves at this crazy time on Earth, we may not understand it all, but I do know we have amazing opportunities now to be responsible for our energy frequency. And when our guides keep asking us and our collectives keep asking us to do this, I think it would be rude if we didn't.
Yes.
Okay. Well, thank you. Until next time.
Thank you. Love you.